portrait sculpture requires a face. Not a generic face, not an idealized face, not a type, a specific face belonging to a specific person, carrying the particular combination of features that makes one human being distinguishable from every other. To carve a portrait is to have seen the person you are carving, or to have access to images of them, or to have spoken to people who knew them and could describe what they looked like. In approximately 1250, a sculptor working in the Cathedral of Naumburg in central Germany carved 12 portraits. The people he depicted had been dead for over 200 years. There were no images of them. There were no written descriptions of their faces. There was nothing, no visual record of any kind that could have told him what these people looked like. The faces he carved are among the most individually specific portraits in the history of medieval sculpture, and no one has ever fully explained how he made them. The Cathedral of Naumburg, in what is now the German state of Saxony-Anhalt, was founded in the 11th century by a group of noble families whose members were buried there across several generations. By the mid-13th century, when the sculptor now known only as the Naumburg Master was commissioned to work on the cathedral's west choir, several of these founding families had died out entirely. Their members were 2 centuries gone. The church wanted to honor them, to create a visual record of the founders that would make them present again in the space they had established. The commission was, in historical terms, impossible. There were no portraits of the founders. Medieval Europe did not have a tradition of realistic portraiture. The likenesses that existed were symbolic rather than individualized, types rather than persons. The tools for depicting a specific human face in stone did not yet exist in any established form. The Naumburg Master was handed this commission and produced 12 figures so distinct, so individually characterized, so psychologically present, that when the German art historian Wilhelm Pinder first seriously analyzed them in the early 20th century, he used language that had never before been applied to medieval sculpture. He called them portraits, not representations, not types, portraits. But this is where the story becomes stranger. Look at the 2 most celebrated figures, Eckhard II, Margrave of Meissen, and his wife Jutta of Ballenstedt. They stand in the west choir, life-size, carved from limestone, painted in colors that have faded across 7 centuries. And they do not look like medieval sculptures. Eckhard holds his sword with the specific grip of someone who has actually used one, not the ceremonial grip of a devotional figure, but the practical grip of a soldier. His face carries tension around the jaw. His posture has the particular set of someone who is paying attention to something in the room with him. Jutta is more famous and more difficult to account for. She has raised the collar of her cloak to partially cover the lower part of her face, her hand holding the fabric at cheekbone level in a gesture so specific, so individual, so much like something a real person would do in a cold church or a moment of private thought, that visitors to Naumburg have been describing her as if she were alive for 700 years. The art historian Erwin Panofsky, writing in the mid-20th century, said that she looked like a woman who had just thought of something she was not going to tell you. This is not how medieval sculpture works. Medieval sculpture shows types in conventional postures, performing conventional gestures. It does not show people thinking things they intend to keep private. The technical problem the Naumburg Master faced was not simply a matter of carving skill. Every Gothic cathedral in Europe was filled with technically accomplished stone carving. The problem was conceptual. He had to invent, essentially from nothing, a visual language for depicting individual human psychology in stone, a way of using the set of the jaw, the angle of the head, the position of the hands, to communicate not just identity, but interiority. And he had to do it for people he had never seen. Using sources that do not exist, art historians have proposed several explanations for how the Naumburg Master arrived at his method. One account holds that he had trained in the workshops of Reims Cathedral in France, where French Gothic sculptors had been pushing toward greater naturalism. For several decades, that he brought a more advanced visual vocabulary back to Germany and applied it to a commission that required him to push further than anyone had gone before. Another account emphasizes the role of written sources. The founding families of Naumburg were documented in charters, land records, and ecclesiastical histories. The Naumburg master may have had access to these documents and used the written descriptions of character, indeed, to construct visual. EQUIVAL-ENTS translating what was known about each person's life into the physical language of posture, gesture, and expression. At first, this seems to resolve the mystery. It doesn't, because neither account explains UTA. The written sources for Jutta of Ballenstedt are sparse. She appears in documents primarily as a name attached to land transactions and family relationships. There is no written description of her personality, no account of her character, no record of how she moved through the world or presented herself to the people around her. And yet the Naumburg master carved her holding her, cloaked to her face with a gesture so private, so interior, so specific to a particular kind of person in a particular kind of moment, that 7 centuries of viewers have responded to her as if they recognize her. Not as a type, as a person. Where did that gesture come from? The documents do not contain it. The formal tradition does not contain it. The master appears to have invented it, to have reached past the available sources and produced something that had no precedent in what he had been given. The deeper researchers looked, the more questions appeared. There is a second complication that the formal accounts do not fully absorb. The 12 figures in the West Choir are not homogeneous. They vary in quality and depth of psychological characterization. Some are accomplished but conventional. Others, the most celebrated, operate by different rules than anything around them. This variation suggests the Naumburg master was not applying a fixed method consistently. He was discovering something as he worked, arriving at the figures that most fully realized the commission's impossible brief, through a process not fully in his control or fully understood even by him. The Naumburg master's identity has never been established. He is named for his most celebrated work, a label applied to a body of work that shares certain characteristics without confirming a single hand produced all of it. What can be established is that the workshop responsible for the Naumburg sculptures also worked at several other sites in central Germany. And then the tradition stops. There is no clear successor. The specific combination of technical accomplishment and psychological penetration that defines the Naumburg figures does not continue in the work of sculptors who came after in the region. It appears, produces its most extraordinary results, and disappears. Whether the Naumburg master understood what he had achieved, whether he knew that Jutta's gesture was unlike anything that had existed before it, is not something any document records. He worked without signing his name. He left no account of his methods. He produced figures that were 7 centuries ahead of the tradition around them, and gave no indication that he knew this was the case. Jutta still stands in the West Choir of Naumburg Cathedral, holding her cloak to her face. The gesture has not changed. The thought she appears to be keeping to herself has not been revealed. And the question the Naumburg master left open, whether a sculptor can know a person they have never seen, can render a face that carries the specific weight of an individual life without any record of what that life looked like, is the same question it was in 1250, when he set down his chisel and walked out of the cathedral without explaining what he had understood about the dead woman whose face he had just finished carving. She is still there. He is not. And the face he gave her is more present than almost anything else in that cathedral. No one has explained why.